Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're going to be taking a first look at a brand new Mega Pokemon in the world of Pokemon Go, Mega Heracross. Mega Heracross arrives as a part of the Mega Heracross Raid Day, and with any new Mega Pokemon that drops, you know I have to test it out to see how it performs in the Mega Master League. Now, I don't live in a region where Heracross normally spawns, so currently I don't have the XLs to get it to 50, so I'll be testing it out in some level 40 Mega Masters practice battles with members of my Discord. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's check out Mega Heracross in action. Hopping into the first match, leading Mega Heracross into Mudshot Mega Garchomp. Good lead for the Heracross. I farm up to the close combat and switch into the Zacian, hoping to catch the Outrage, and I do, where it's double resisted. In comes Kyogre. Kyogre, I am going to be able to outpace here and make it to the Wild Charge. Wild Charge, definitely going to leave its mark, so the opponent is going to commit the shield. I could potentially decide to shield back and make another Wild Charge, and that's exactly what I decide to do, as this way I can basically KO the Kyogre or grab their final shield. They let it through. The Wild Charge plus the Quick Attack just do not KO, but one counter from Mega Heracross and they will get KO'd. Back in comes Mega Garchomp, and Mega Garchomp is being torn to shreds by these counters. Mega Heracross has a truly absurd attack stat. They shield the first close combat, but the second one will pick up the KO. In the back, it's Dialga. Mega Heracross, 4 stages debuffed on the defense, but it will not matter. It makes the close combat. Get that Dialga out of here. Mega Heracross completely sweeps the endgame. Great lead in the next match, Mega Heracross versus Mega Gyarados. Metagross save switch. This is a winning matchup for the Heracross. I'm just going to stay in here, go for the close combat. This should almost KO if they let it through. And now I'm going to send in the Zekrom. Now you may notice I don't have the best IVs on the Zacian and the Zekrom. These are powered up only to level 40. As I mentioned, these are level 40 Mega Masters battles. My level 50 mons do have a lot better IVs. So I'm going to fire off the Wild Charge. My opponent is going to let that through. And let's see, are they going to send back in the Gyarados? No, they send in Rhyperior. These Mud Slaps tearing through the Zekrom, but the Zekrom barely able to hang on, make it to the Outrage. The Outrage connects, dealing massive damage. I send in Zacian to absorb their energy, and I can just win the game with Mega Heracross at this point. They go for the Breaking Swipe. It's a simultaneous switch. Mega Heracross into the Mega Gyarados. Even though I've already taken damage on the Heracross, look at these counters go. Absolutely tearing the Mega Gyarados to shreds. I can shield, and at this point, I kind of want to go for a bad manners close combat, but I get outpaced. I could have just clicked the Rock Slide and swept with the Heracross, but I wanted that close combat. The good news is we are going to win either way, as we are going to get the farm down with the Zacian, and we get to farm down Rhyperior as well. Tough lead in the next match, Mega Heracross versus Mewtwo. I'm going to save switch into the Zacian, as I do have 2 better responses in the back. My opponent stays in, goes for the Psy Strike. I'm going to fire off the Play Rough. Neither move will KO, but the Play Rough will get them pretty low. They do elect to commit a shield. They're firing off energy. I don't really see a purpose in shielding the Zacian. I would rather save shields for the Mega Heracross if at all possible, because this thing, the damage output is just absolutely absurd. In comes the Zekrom. Mewtwo going to start firing off charge attacks here. They go for the Psy Strike. That does quite a lot of damage. They send in Palkia. Palkia trying for the farm down, but it cannot quite get there. I make the Wild Charge. That forces the shield, and now that I have shields down, it's time for Mega Heracross to put in some work. I am going to be letting the Aqua Tail through, as I can survive this and trying to commit to the farm down. It's a race, counter versus the Dragon Breath, and it looks like I should barely be able to get the counter down. I'm just relying on close combat, dealing a massive amount of damage to whatever my opponent sends in. If they send in the Mewtwo, I can just pick up that KO with the close combat as well, and they do. In comes the Mewtwo. This is just going to KO with the close combat. Close combat KOs the Mewtwo in the back. It's a Mega Sceptile. Okay, let's see this damage. Mega versus Mega, and it fully one-shots as a neutral move. Oh my goodness. And that's game over. We see a different Palkia in the next match as I lead Mega Heracross into the Origin Palkia. I'm going to fire off the close combat here and then look to switch into the Zacian. They respect the close combat, which is good because they just would have straight up been KO'd. At this point, I'm just assuming even neutrally close combat is going to be able to KO most things. They send in Mega Aggron, and this is a situation where I would definitely prefer to have close combat. As with Wild Charge, I'm going to need 3 if I'm going to be able to force a shield. I'm very heavily debuffed here. The game's stuttering a little bit as I make it to Wild Charge number 2. The Wild Charge is going to connect. My opponent accidentally overfarms a bit too much. I'm able to make it to a 3rd Wild Charge and force a shield from my opponent. The opponent also could have potentially had a forced overtap there. I know that does happen sometimes, and it's very, very unfortunate. The Heracross snipes with the counter. I have 2 shields down, and they have a Sylveon in the back. And this team is super, super weak to Charm. But we're going to go for the close combat. Let's see this damage right here. That is resisted damage. What the heck? In comes the Palkia. I'm going to respect the Spatial Rend here, as Spatial Rend would easily pick up the KO. But now I can farm down, back in comes the Sylveon, and I can fire off the Wild Charge. Wild Charge will very comfortably be able to take the win. So again, even in these neutral or resisted situations, the close combat is just crazy. You know what I can't close combat, however? Mega Gengar. This is a pretty big core breaker for this team. I'm going to save switch into the Zacian, but this is not much better. Mega Gengar is incredibly scary. I decided to try and call a Shadow Punch bait, but it's a Sludge Bomb, and that's definitely going to KO. Oh my goodness. This is really not looking good. I'm forced to send in the Zekrom and basically just hope against hope. Opponent is going to switch out into Metagross. I'm going to farm up until right before they make it to the Earthquake and go for the Wild Charge. I'm hoping that this will KO. The Wild Charge barely does not, but I can switch into the Heracross and catch the Earthquake where it is going to be resisted. But my opponent anticipated the switch, and they went for the Meteor Mash. It hits for big neutral damage, and failing that catch, I think I'm in trouble. I'm going to have a really difficult time getting rid of this Gengar. I decided to just let it go as they go for the Sludge Bomb, and now I send in the Zekrom. I'm basically just hoping against hope that Zekrom is somehow going to be able to sweep here, but it's very unlikely. I shield the Sludge Bomb in the back. They have Palkia Origin. I make the back-to-back Wild Charges, but I'm at 1 HP here. The Dragon Breath is going to KO, denying the 2nd Wild Charge, and unfortunately, we do lose the game. Picking up a positive lead in the next match. Mega Heracross into Heatran. Again, look at the counters, man. The save switch into a Gardevoir, and this is really not good. Again, this team is just so weak to Fairy. I go for the Rock Blast, and I'm going to send in the Zacian. The Rock Blast landing means that I'm in a pretty nice spot here. I'm going to look to overfarm quite significantly and go for the Wild Charge, hoping they just let it through, and they do. So they are just going to fully sacrifice the Gardevoir. In comes the Heatran. Heatran throws 1 Fire Spin and then goes for the Magma Storm. That means there are 3 off the next Magma Storm, so I need these counters to KO, and they just do pick up the KO. In the back, it's Mega Garchomp. Unfortunately, I am switch locked here, so I'm not able to switch out, which means I'm actually going to get Mud Shot down, and this could get a little scary. If my opponent has Sand Tomb and an ability to bait, I could very easily lose this game. If they don't have Sand Tomb, then I'm okay, and by going for the Earth Power, that basically confirms to me that they are running Earth Power and Outrage, so thankfully I can just double shield and farm all the way down. Definitely wish that I could have saved the Heracross for later, but unfortunately the switch clock was not up. We lead Mega Heracross into a shiny Mega Scizor, and Mega Scizor as the shiny, definitely one of my favorite shinies in the game. That just looks terrific. The Rock Blast bait does get the shield. Both Rock Blast and Close Combat will hit for neutral damage. I commit the shield in case they Iron Head, but they Trailblaze me, and now they're boosted. Mega Heracross does win charge attack priority over Mega Scizor. Again, Mega Heracross's attack stat is absolutely absurd. This thing is crazy. In comes a Hoopa. Look at the spice. Oh my goodness. The Hoopa powered up. You love to see it. Hoopa is going to fire off the Shadow Ball. That nearly KOs, but I'm barely able to hang on and make it to the play rough. This will hit for super effective damage. Opponent lets it go. Down goes Hoopa. In the back is a Galarian Articuno. And this opponent, they are flexing on me, and you know what? I am pretty impressed. This is an incredibly cool flex to have the Galarian Articuno powered up as well. The Rock Blast still does big damage to the Galarian Articuno. I can send in the Zekrom. Zekrom's going to be able to farm down and take the game. Moving to the next match, leading Mega Heracross into Primal Kyogre. This is a matchup where if you land the close combat, you can win as the Mega Heracross. I'm going to build up to the close combat and bait with the Rock Blast. Rock Blast bait does get shielded. They go for the Surf right away, so I get the counter through. This is nice, as I will be able to win ones here by landing the close combat. I'm farming up, going for the close combat, but I was not patient. I didn't throw on good timing. Opponent catches it onto a Shundo Salamence. Oh my goodness. The Shundo Salamence, what a flex. At this point, I've gotten it into a range where a Wild Charge will knock out, so I will go for the Wild Charge. Opponent ends up committing the shield, so they want to try and get shields down here if at all possible. So I will commit the shield on the Fire Blast. I'm going to look to overfarm and make sure that I am one away from a Wild Charge versus whatever they decide to send in the back. The Wild Charge is going to KO Salamence. In the back is a Mewtwo, and Mewtwo, this is not a particularly fun Pokemon for me to see. I go for the Play Rough, that does some nice damage. I send in the Zekrom, but my opponent, unfortunately, is going to be able to make 2 Side Strikes here and then will be able to pick up the KO as the Dragon Breaths just do not do enough damage. And unfortunately for me, I'm out of shields. And there's a Primal Kyogre that is very close to a move. It gets to the Surf. Surf is going to KO, and I have no energy on the Mega Heracross because they made a very nice catch earlier. So unfortunately, I am getting Waterfall down. Very tough lead in the next match. Mega Heracross into Shadow Mewtwo. Save switch into the Zacian. And there it is. My nemesis returns. The Mega Gengar. If they bait here, I can survive it. I commit the shield, and I'm really happy I did, as it ends up being the Sludge Bomb. So the Sludge Bomb does end up being shielded. They shield my Wild Charge. I can make another Wild Charge, but if they shield this, they can probably just farm me all the way down. They're going to leave with so much energy. This is such a problem. Oh my goodness. I'll be honest, when I was team building, I wasn't really taking into account the fact that Mega Gengar exists. And this thing is just absolutely destroying me. And they're double nuke. They land the Shadow Ball. They're going to fire off another charge attack to deny my ability to make it to another move. And now I send in the Heracross. In the back, they have Zarude. And switching into the Zarude, I think just gave me a win con. Because Zarude can't touch Mega Heracross. Power Whip or Dark Pulse, neither one's going to be doing any damage. I get a full farm down of Zarude. Zarude has never looked so weak as when going up against the Mega Heracross. In comes the Gengar. I can go for the Rock Blast. Rock Blast is going to pick up the KO. In comes that Mewtwo. I farm up. I go for the close combat. And look at that. It won charge attack priority over a Mewtwo. And look at the resisted close combat damage. The damage output on this thing is just absolutely hilarious. Oh my goodness. I could have close combated there. In hindsight, I probably should have. But either way, we do take the win. Moving to the next match, leading Mega Heracross into Mega Blaziken. And these counters are just shredding through Mega Blaziken. Oh my goodness. I'm going to commit the shield as they fire off the Blaze Kick. They're going to save switch into a Shadow Mewtwo. And I'm going to send in my Zacian. Of course, after the Shadow Raid Day for the Mewtwo, there's going to be a lot of Mewtwo's out there. So unfortunately, Mega Heracross definitely has to dodge them because Mega Heracross just gets outpaced and completely shredded by Side Strikes. They're going to commit the shield. They are actually farming me down. I thought I could get the Wild Charge, but I'm unable to get there. And now this Mewtwo is going to be a huge problem. They make a Side Strike, and they're going to make another Side Strike as well. I think I just have to fully sack my back 2 Pokemon and try and sweep this with Mega Heracross. At least I have energy on the Heracross, which is very, very good. I shield with the Side Strike. I get the full farm down. I have a ton of energy, and in the back, it's a Metagross, and this actually looks kind of playable. Close combat, gets the shield. I have to watch for the catch. They go for the catch into the Blaziken, and I go for the Rock Blast to deny their ability to make it to a Blaze Kick. And now we get to see in a shields down scenario, how much does close combat do to a Metagross? Close combat into the Metagross. Massive damage. Metagross gets KO'd right as they make the Meteor Mash. And we take the win. Hopping into the final match, leading Mega Heracross into Mega Venusaur. We're going to hit the save switch again into that Shadow Mewtwo, and I'm going to respond with the Zacian. Shadow Mewtwo, the damage output is just absolutely wild. I'm going to commit the shield here as they fire off the Side Strike and go for the Wild Charge, because I believe even with the defense drop after the Wild Charge, I should be able to make one more here. It's going to be close. Zacian, even with my terrible IVs, is barely able to hang on and make it to the Wild Charge. The Wild Wild Charge is going to be shielded up by my opponent. So they are more than happy to double shield the Mewtwo, because at this point they're aware that I do not have an amazing response to Shadow Mewtwo on this team. Zekrom hit by the Side Strike. That does massive damage. They're going to switch in Landorus, but I make it to the Outrage. And this is going to be good night to the Landorus. Outrage picks up the KO. Oh, it doesn't, but I get the counter down with the Heracross. I thought that would KO, but the Landorus barely able to hang on. Back in comes the Venusaur, and Venusaur is going to be able to fire off the Sludge Bomb, but Sludge Bomb is not something I have to worry about here. I can tank this, build up to the back-to-back close combats, and this should be a pretty straightforward game, as even though it is resisted, close combat, just look at the damage output from this thing, man. What a truly terrifying Pokemon. They're going to send in the Mewtwo, but I have a shield remaining, so I can shield up, and Mega Heracross gets to overcome its nemesis, countering down the Shadow Mewtwo and taking the win. All in all, Mega Heracross has a truly terrifying attack stat, and if or when the Mega Master League format returns, this thing is going to see a ton of play. Like, the moveset it has, counter plus close combat, is a terrific combination, and adding the Rock Blast coverage to help you out if you get stuck against something that resists fighting. Overall, that combined with the truly absurd attack stat that can win charge attack priority over Mewtwo, I mean, this thing is unbelievably fun. It's definitely worth going out to play the Mega Heracross Raid Day, even if you don't want to do the Mega Master League. Like, it's a very beautiful shiny, it's a regional Pokemon that we don't see a lot, but if you are a fan of Masters and the Mega Master League format, definitely a Pokemon to look at, because that damage output is crazy. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you, as always, to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.